I loved this book and I learned so much from it, but not in a icky, I hate learning kind of way. In a fun, I'm reading a fiction storybook. It is deep, and it will. He tells you that you'll learn about America and America's gods. You will. There might be a little bit of spoilers in here, but I want to let me read to you my favorite passages, my most meaningful passages to me is kind of like a book review. And then, like I said, I'll hold that thing to the end where something I did not like in the book. But my only complaint about the book. It's not a big deal either. So we'll start off. I don't know if you've ever read Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. I recommend it. There's a rarity in that book where the characters in the book sometimes will make multiple page monologues uninterrupted. Like, you never get to do that in life. But it helps me understand how things work. I need people to explain things to me very explicitly. And then before I can get it. And then I usually forget it anyway. But let me read you this monologue of a character in this book that it's like, wow, this is true. It's interesting. You know, it's as true as anything can be true. This is on page 413. And Shadow has met somebody, and he was going to disclose something to her that he didn't think she'd be able to believe, something supernatural. And this is her little monologue. It's the only monologue in the whole book, I think. And not nearly as long as Ayn Rand's monologues. It's great. I can believe things that are true, and I can believe things that aren't true. And I can believe things where nobody knows if they are true or not. I can believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and Marilyn Monroe and the Beatles and Elvis and Mr. Ed. Listen, I believe that people are perfectible, that knowledge is infinite, that the world is run by secret banking cartels and is visited by aliens on a regular basis, nice ones that look like wrinkled lemurs, and bad ones who mutilate cattle and want our water and our women. I believe that the future sucks, and I believe that the future rocks. And I believe that one day White Buffalo Woman is going to come back and kick everyone's butt. I believe that all men are just overgrown boys with deep problems communicating, and that the decline in good sex in America is coincident with the decline in drive-in movie theaters from state to state. I believe that all politicians are unprincipled crooks, and I believe that they are better than the alternative. I believe that California is going to sink into the sea when the big one comes, while Florida is going to dissolve into madness and alligators and toxic waste. I believe that antibacterial soap is destroying our resistance to dirt and disease, so that one day we'll all be wiped out by the common cold like the Martians in War of the Worlds. I believe that the greatest poets of the last century were Edith Sitwell and Don Marquis, that jade is dried dragon sperm, and that thousands of years ago in a former life, I was a one-armed Siberian shaman. I believe that mankind's destiny lies in the stars. I believe that candy really did taste better when I was a kid, and it's aerodynamically impossible for a bumblebee to fly. That light is a particle and a wave. And that there's a cat in a box somewhere who's alive and dead at the same time, although if they don't ever find the box to feed it, it'll eventually just be two different kinds of dead. And that there are stars in the universe billions of years older than the universe itself. I believe in a personal God who cares about me and worries and oversees everything I do. I believe in an impersonal God who set the universe in motion and went off to hang with her girlfriends and doesn't even know that I'm alive. I believe in an empty, godless universe of casual chaos, background noise, and sheer blind luck. I believe that anyone who says that sex is overrated just hasn't done it properly. I believe that anyone who claims to know what's going on will lie about the little things too. I believe in absolute honesty and sensible social lies. I believe in a woman's right to choose, a baby's right to live, and while all human life is sacred, there's nothing wrong with the death penalty if you can trust the legal system implicitly, and that no one but a moron would ever trust the legal system. I believe that life is a game, life is a cruel joke, and that life is what happens when you're alive, and that you might as well lie back and enjoy it. She stopped, out of breath. That's I think the longest monologue in this whole book. Okay, now I'm going to read you just a few other passages that are just really spoke to me, that I really enjoyed. This isn't about what is, said Mr. Nancy. It's about what people think is. It's all imaginary anyway. That's why it's important. People only fight over imaginary things. I told you the rest of them would be short. And I've read a lot of the Bible, but I had never thought of this. It's always fun when you get exposed to something new about the Bible from a fictional book. There was only one guy in the whole Bible Jesus ever personally promised a place with him in paradise. Not Peter, not Paul, not any of those guys. He was a convicted thief being executed. So don't knock the guys on death row. Maybe they know something you don't. None of this can actually be happening. If it makes you more comfortable, you could simply think of it as a metaphor. Religions are, by definition, metaphors after all. God is a dream, a hope, a woman, an ironist, a father, a city, a house of many rooms, a watchmaker who left his prize chronometer in the desert, someone who loves you, even perhaps against all evidence, a celestial being whose only interest is to make sure your football team, army, business, or marriage thrives, prospers, and triumphs over all opposition. Religions are places to stand and look and act, vantage points from which to view the world. So none of this is happening. Such things could not occur in this day and age. Never a word of it is literally true, although it all happened. And the next thing that happened like this. I forgot to tell you the page numbers where I got the quotes after the first one. Oh well. And then I have a couple of things to talk about that I couldn't find that I forgot to note when I was reading them. One was they talk about maps, and that's a metaphor too. And they said if a map was 100% accurate and 100% to scale, it would be completely useless for navigating. It was really interesting to think about. Like maps have to be simplified versions of the truth to be useful. And then the other thing, oh my gosh, this one I had to stop and think about this too. Because we like to judge the other societies in the past and stuff, but one of the gods in this book is automobiles. And the author makes the point of reminding us that we have sacrificed, here in America, we have sacrificed more innocent children to automobiles than the Aztecs ever did. Not that, you know what I mean. The Aztecs were known for sacrificing children, but in a way, because in America we value our automobiles, and it's impossible to have had automobiles without some children dying, and we traded those children for automobiles. We sacrificed innocent children to the god of automobile. Man, that's trippy stuff. Okay, now my only complaint, it's just a tiny one too. I bought this, it's an annotated version. It's really awesome. You should totally read it. The annotations are fun too. But I got to page 557, and because I've read a previous book, this one, Games People Play, when I got to this page, it says, the game they played was called, single quote, Let's You and Him Fight. And the L and the Y and the H and the F are all capitalized. And that jumped out at me. I'm like, that's one of the games in this book from, I don't know, the 50s or the 60s when it was first published. It is also a pretty good book. I mean, it's a very good book, but it's kind of hard to understand because of it was written a little while ago, but it's still good. Anyway, that one has, even though this book has almost 1,000 notations, like, if they mention a god, or if they're even a mention of a show like Lucy, or a movie, they would be an annotation. Well, yeah, take my word for it. Oh, here we go. Like this one, annotation 347, based on the 1970 feature film MASH, blah, 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 blah. This doesn't have any notation at all. The author didn't give it credit. I mean, he did, because I can tell, because there's a quote, single quote around it, and it says, "Let's you and him fight." And I know it's right out of this book. So I added my own personal notation, put a little asterisk there, and put Games People Play by Eric Byrne. Wow, that's it. I hope I didn't spoil any of it. I still, like, I know I'm just repeating myself, but I loved this book, and I learned so much from it, but not in a icky, I hate learning kind of way. In a fun, I'm reading a fiction storybook. It is deep, and it will. He tells you that you'll learn about America and America's gods. You will. Anyway, peace out. Oh, wait. Oops. Sheeps wants to say hi. Sheeps likes to say hi. He's got a Bible belt. All right. Peace out.